remarkable Ovett, who, along with Coe, heralds the greatest period in British athletic history for 50 years.
Quite happy to admit it, Steve is the most talented athlete I ever ran against.
Seb, the calibre of athlete that he is, and doesn't come around that often, perhaps once or twice in anybody's lifetime.
1980, the world's two top middle distance runners were at their peak, and they were about to meet in a decisive head-to-head.
Both were great, and on any given day, any one of them could have won any single race. The world was crying out for the clash of Coe and Ovett.
Coe and Ovett had the world at their feet, and for the first time ever, Britain had two number ones. By the summer of 1980, they held 5 world records between them and could fill any stadium anywhere in the world.
They became bigger than the soccer players. They became bigger than the racehorses. They became bigger than any other sports people in the country. And of course, they became very dominant around the world as well.
And the two stars couldn't have been more different. While the public warmed to Ovett, he left many commentators cold. An extrovert on the track, he shunned publicity, leaving the media struggling for any tidbit or photo opportunity.
Hand in hand with your wife, just walking at the camera. Can we just show you medal in the other hand?
No,
It's just the last one we want, that's all.
How do you feel about people saying that you're unfriendly to people like the press?
I think it's very difficult. You can't please all the people all the time, and the press tend to sort of change their attitudes with the wind, really. The one minute they're calling me a bad boy if I don't sort of go and give them interviews, and the next minute they're saying what a wonderful runner he is, and he's a real lad, you know, and all this sort of thing.
And then there was Sebastian Coe, a public relations dream.
Steve, for reasons I can understand, chose not to speak to them, and I was more accessible. And I think they tended to make that divide. I didn't set out in my career to say, well, look, here's a guy who's not speaking, so I can sort of capitalise on the fact that I can be more accessible.
The media capitalised on their contrary characters, casting Ovett as villain, Coe as hero, and the two as arch rivals. They demanded a showdown. The two had met only once on the track, back in 1978, so the summer of 1980 promised a long-awaited clash, and it was to happen on the greatest stage of all, at the Olympic Games in Moscow.
Ask any athlete what is his great ambition. It is not a world record. It is not to be a world champion. It is to win an Olympic title.
Gold medal is something which is, it's there and it's yours forevermore. And it's a measure of your ability to go out there and pit your wits against another man.
It was a challenge that Coe and his father had been preparing for since Seb was in his early teens.
I was on a street corner in Sheffield going down to a training session. I said, I don't want it to come to you as a surprise, but you're going to be at the Olympics in 1980.
His son's talent was undeniable, so was his determination to win.
When I'd go to the school sports day, I'd go passing parents who were saying, well, I don't know why we're bothering to go. We know Seb Coe is going to win everything. And I used to think, oh, Seb, just lose something. Please lose something. But he never did. He won. Didn't matter what he did. He came first at it. It was embarrassing.
He couldn't even do a run an errand to a shop unless you timed him and said, was he faster than last time?
Peter Coe became his son's coach and mentor. While controversial to some, father and son established a successful working relationship.
Seb had a trick. He would refer to him as Peter when it was a coaching situation, and Dad when it wasn't. So they both separated out the father and the coach.
I was never Dad. Never Dad anything to do with running. I was never father. Never Dad. I was coach. It'd be impossible to be anything else. He wasn't Seb, he was my athlete.
Outside of the father-son relationship, we actually got on well, and that is a huge aspect of any coach-athlete relationship.
Yeah, it's okay.
Really, they are the closest of relationships that you can basically have, probably outside of a marriage, and they can be sometimes as difficult.
Training in the Coe camp was tough on the slight young athlete. Peter was an engineer with no background in athletics, but every confidence in the appliance of science. Quality, not quantity, became his motto in the search for speed, speed, and yet more speed.
I was lucky. I worked with a coach who effectively was 10, 15 years ahead of his time.
I doubt if any runner, before or since, has trained as hard as he did under the eyes of his father, who was the coach.
When somebody said, well, you're killing him, my reply was, yeah, all the way to the gold medal. No problem.
But they both knew there was one person who could scupper their plans.
Steve Ovett, who was only 18, the European Junior Champion.
He was the obstacle on the way.
Champion, but coming hard round the outside, just out of the picture, number 18.
Watch Steve run so casually that it was breathtaking. He was class, wasn't he?
Campbell fighting through and Ovett coming on the outside. The teenager with a tremendous late run. And it's Carter down Ovett. And Ovett takes him down in the last 7 strides. Ovett wins. Carter second. Dice third. Vincent Reid fourth. What a piece.
Steve Ovett was a natural runner. He enjoyed the fever of competition and the race for the tape.
Right at the back.
I think he really enjoyed beating the people that he was running against. And he always looked as if he was having a good time as well. But I guess when you win as often as he does, you probably do have a good time.
The most important thing is to run, because I love running. I'd run in the woods, in a desert island, because that's the thing I like doing best.
I mean, Ovett was the athlete's athlete. You know, he was the archetypal English harrier. You know, he could run cross country, he could run road races, he could run on the track.
And this talent was spotted early by his parents. They were to back him all the way.
They weren't very sort of rich family. I mean, they weren't very well off at all at certain stages. And to have that backing and for them to sort of say, yeah, well, we'll look after you, buy your equipment and clothes and things. You know, right through to a sort of quite a late stage in my athletic career when there was virtually no money in the sport, I think was tremendous.
Ovett had matured early, racing in internationals while his peers were still in the juniors. He trained under a seasoned coach, Harry Wilson.
An athlete-coach relationship is vital. Without it, it's just like a Formula One racing team. You can't have a Formula One racing team without the mechanics.